So next up is Caroline Walmsley, who's going to be talking about how we can do more about emerging talent. Caro is the founder and CEO of Further My Future, which is a free service that supports young people aged between 16 and 24 on their journey to employment, and on the way is helping bold employers to develop their talent. I'm delighted that Ideal is one of those employers. We're working with Further My Future, as I said earlier, and with their help, we've just employed an apprentice to work in our service centre, and I hope that she will, and I say she, I think our first technical hire, certainly our first technical apprentice, female apprentice, I hope that she'll be the first of many at Ideal. So Caro's committed to confronting the youth ageism that is prevalent in most workplaces. Before setting up Further My Future, she was MD of both an e-learning business and a publishing house, both of which were sold to FTSE 250 companies. So here, Caro.
Good morning. Thank you for spending the next 15 minutes in a dark room with me. I'm going to talk about, right, let's go, shall we? How we can do more for emerging talent and perhaps more interestingly from your point of view, what more they can do for us. A little bit of background about me. As Claire mentioned, I cut my management training teeth working for an international publisher who invested a lot of time, energy and patience in training me to manage global teams and business units at quite a young age. I was managing people in different locations, global locations, who were twice as old as me. It was absolutely terrifying, but it was good training, good practice. Since then, I've run and helped to sell a couple of businesses, dabbled in a bit of management consultancy in my own sort of style, and most recently have co-founded Further My Future, which is a business that wants to deliver better junior talent to employers, create better opportunities, a bit like the one at Ideal, for young talent, and champion better training provision to support both. If that sounds a bit like an Instagram filtered whistle-stop tour of a career, do know that I have made a shitload of mistakes. There are people that I work with currently in the room, there are people that I've worked with previously in the room, and they will tell you themselves. You don't need to hear it from me. I am nothing if not a 6-foot work in progress. So, to talk a little bit about bright talent. 50% of year 13 students in England go on to university. There's a well-established route for those 50% students called UCAS, and they are guided and facilitated through their application process to identify and determine the right course and university for them. About 25 years ago, horrifically, this was exactly my experience. I stumbled into university because I was able to, and because I was guided towards it by my teachers and my parents who hadn't been to university. I didn't really know what I wanted the other side of it. I'm old enough, though, to have avoided tuition fees because, terrifyingly, today 50% that go to university are able to, not just because they've made the grades, but increasingly because they can afford to do so. Average graduate debt now stands at around £51,000. It's a terrifying amount. Times Educational Supplement reported in January this year that the most advantaged students in terms of socio-economic background are actually twice as likely to apply for university courses than those from slightly less socially advantaged groups. That's significant because what it means if graduates are increasingly representative of the more advantaged groups, then what's happening to the potential, skills and talents of those year 13s from less advantaged ones? Do employers risk missing out on talent and skills on the basis of reluctance to consider for interview either young people without degrees, or young people without experience on the basis that they need too much training, too much hand-holding, they need a non-specific degree, they need too much of my time, and most recently, well, graduates have just got more experience. These are all things that have been said to me directly in the last couple of months. So when we talk about, sorry, I'm double-clicking. When we talk about diversity in talent and recruitment, are we really talking about the younger and the poorer? And are we doing so without prejudice? Because I really believe, that ability, initiative and potential is not curtailed if you are young and poor, but employment opportunities increasingly are. I don't know if anyone's read The Spirit Level. If you haven't, I would absolutely recommend it. It's co-authored by Kate Pickett. She's got another book coming out called The Inner Level. She was quoted in a newspaper last weekend say uneven societies, such as the UK, it is an uneven society, waste a huge amount of talent. Lower social mobility, lower educational attainment means they're not optimising capital development, and the same principle applies to organisations too. So if there's a well-supported UCAF pathway for career opportunities for those that are academic and can afford to go to university, what about the other 50%? How can they be better exposed and prepared for career opportunities, and what potential do they hold for employers, and how can employers find them? This requires more than just a jobs board or a recruitment agency or super brilliant recruitment software. I think it requires a challenge to the status quo, to education, to innovation, and a different means to broker the relationship between young people and employers. It's not all one-sided. So that was all about young people. I'm now going to talk about young, and I'm going to talk about employers. Because while I think it's great to operate with a social conscience, there are commercial realities at play too. That's fine, don't worry.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. I recently attended a Brighton Chamber panel discussion. I think there were some of you there. It was great. It explored themes about the future of work and the future skills that were required. There were great panellists, and there was a clear consensus that even if there might not be a talent shortage, there's certainly a skills gap. Graduate or not, I think too many people are leaving education without the skills to adequately equip them for their first job. There was no consensus about where the accountability lies for that, to bridge that gap. Is it with educators? Is it with authorities? Is it with employers? Without consensus, the solution about the responsibility, I think, is increasingly left to employers, and to invest their time and energy in just training junior employees, not just for the role that they're coming into, but just the workplace in general. And I think you can see then why that might feel a bit of a burden. I think as employers, your business is only as good as your people. It's as good as they are. If you are recruiting people, it's because they're either leaving or you're growing or both. Optimising the recruitment model, I think, is key, because if you're recruiting to cover a leaver and they've left, you've got a productivity gap. If you're recruiting to grow, your growth can't be achieved until those new hires are in place. Events like these and the one yesterday exist because the recruitment model is imperfect currently. Recruitment agencies, I don't know if you've used recruitment agencies, they can be quite expensive, not always, but they can be, and they don't always consider the culture and the values fit as well as the skills fit. Jobs boards and recruitment software can be absolutely fantastic. They can yield really good high quantities of applications, but not always high quality applications. Internally, if you're spending time on recruitment, you're screening applications, you're shortlisting, you're interviewing, you're making offers, it all takes time. And in addition to that investment that employers are making, if they've then got to bridge this gap between people coming out of education and coming into the workplace and they're not ready for it, you can see why it might be tempting to just go in at mid-level and have a little bit of experience and discount the young. So I think in addition to young people deserving a little bit better, employers deserve better in the short term if they're to make that investment, if they're to recover that investment in emerging talent, and they're to reap the long-term benefits. Because the long-term benefits, I think, are significant. And we've got some of them here. This is going to require the clicking. Let's see if I can cope. So, possibly not. I don't know if it's the right one now. It's not that one. That one, yeah. Perfect, thank you. There we go, that's better, isn't it? So, if you have a regular stream of junior employees coming into your business, you can provide them with clear professional development pathways. That helps promote retention and motivation if they can see where they're going. It gives you the ability to succession plan. It doesn't mean that you're sort of stagnated at the bottom of your organisation or the decision driving is at the top. It gives you the ability to strategically plan for your talent needs, as Ideal absolutely does. They know they want to grow, they know they need to recruit significantly in order to facilitate that growth, so they're thinking about it, as Claire said, in academies, in cohorts. It's a smart way to do it. Two-way mentoring. I have learnt a lot in the past year thanks to having two-way mentoring in Further My Future, having people that are 20, 10 years younger than me tell me what they think, tell me how to drive the business. I have learned more in the last 6 months from their mentoring than I have in the last 15 years from being mentored, although I do appreciate it, from people who were then sort of 20, 25 years older than me. Most recently, yesterday, I was informed what being a bit prangy was. which is great. Anyone who doesn't know what a bit prangy is, it's what happens when you can't juggle the slides properly. You get a bit, oh God, okay. It also means you're bringing in a diversity of experience and ideas, which I think promotes innovation. Let's see how we go. This next one I think is really important. How many organisations have you been in where senior management is there because they are functional experts or because they've been there a long time? They're not necessarily amazing line managers. Bringing in junior employees facilitates mentoring and coaching in organisations. It also helps your mid and your senior level employees develop those skills. Bringing in junior employment allows you to avoid the cost and time of reactive recruitment, minimising that productivity gap. And also, and I know this one from personal experience, if you are repeatedly bringing in junior employees, you can avoid the salary inflation expectations that's sometimes evident when you're recruiting at mid-levels with people who've got a very limited amount of experience. They do have experience, but an over-inflated expectation of what that experience buys them. So if we're asking employers to consider opportunities for emerging talent, then I think we need to consider an effective recruitment model for employers and for that talent to join the workforce in a better equipped way. So as much as Further My Future wants to champion the rights of opportunity for young people, Claire mentioned me sort of talking about youth ageism, I also want to champion the rights of employers to deserve better as well. When Wired Sussex, brilliant, were promoting this talk and sending massive headshots of a great big blue face, which I panicked people's feeds, they did a great job. But a young woman named Aisha responded to one of their tweets. She wanted to join today, and she was interested in this talk in particular. And she got in touch. I don't know who runs your talent Twitter account. I'd give them a pay rise, fantastic. But they sort of said to her, it's in Brighton, we'd love you to join in. She said, well, I can't, I'm in Cardiff. And I messaged her and I said, well, what's your experience? And she told me a little bit about herself. And I said, look, could you drop me a line? Because I think you're very smart. You're representative of exactly the sort of thing I'm talking about. And I'm just going to read what she said. I'm 20 years old, and I'm in my second year of A-levels. Just to reiterate, this is Aisha, not me now. I was initially going down the conventional route of 2 years of A-levels, and then I was going to pursue an English degree. I was going to be that first 50%. This all changed when I realised I wanted more from a degree. And as we know, they no longer guarantee a job. I was introduced at the end of my first year to a sponsored degree apprenticeship. Surprisingly, teachers were putting me off the option, saying it was a waste of my academic talent. But I didn't understand. I thought surely this was a great opportunity. When you get taught that there is a one-way route to employment via university, you never think any other option would be just as valid. There is a disconnect between age-old measures about young people and employment opportunities, and the young people themselves. I saw the tweet about Talent Skills Summit, and I was like, wow, that would be great if young people could learn about this. Because as a young person, I would really love to learn about why we aren't tapping into the other 50% potential. What can I give as a young person to help make that a reality? She ended it by saying, what can I give as a young person to help make that a reality? In thinking about this talk, it made me think how a lack of experience can be a barrier to opportunity for young people. And I was minded to consider the person who gave me my first professional break, when I had no experience and armed only with a degree that I hadn't yet realised was current common currency. That guy was Martin Smart. He's in the circle there. This was taken years ago, long before men lurking in bushes would have been something you probably didn't want to put on a slide deck and talk about to a room full of people. Brilliant and lovely man. Without his doing, who knows where my path would have led. I think each of you will have a Martin. Each of you could be a Martin. So I think the better question for Aisha is, what can we all give? If employers need better prepared talent and young people need better opportunities and training, then Further My Future wants to pick up the baton and help with that change. And I would like as many of you as possible to join us in that. It's that old adage of if everybody thought somebody should do something that anybody could do, then we'd rather do it than risk it being left to nobody. We work with young people to match and equip them to employment opportunities. We work with employers to independently guide and advise around apprenticeships and talent academies, exactly as we've done with Ideal, and we want to raise the bar for all. I'm going to be knocking around all day. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have got. Thank you.